If anybody is like a hardcore analyst and you watched a lot of our bind, you can tell that the way that we're playing against Lev is not the same way that we were playing, back in stage one. Teams have clearly copied our comp. I mean, you can see Lev copied it. You can see all these teams that are playing bind have copied our comp, so they know everything that we're doing.
Hey guys, it's Pedro back with another interview covering VCT America Stage 2. For this occasion, I'm here accompanied once again by eeiu of 100 Thieves, who are coming off of a 2-0 series loss to Leviathan in set split. So, eeiu, really appreciate you taking the time once again for another interview this season. I wish it would have happened after a W, but unfortunately, it's after a loss. Just covering that first and foremost, your thoughts, your feelings. How are you feeling after going through a series like that?
I've never really cared about the result throughout like our entire run, really. Even when we lost in kickoff or even when we won stage one, I never really cared. So this one's a little sad considering it did feel like we were in a decline in form throughout practice for weeks on end, pretty much since we came to Shanghai. And it did feel like the last week of practice was really productive. It felt like we fixed a lot of things. It felt like we were kind of getting back to the old form that we had as a team and bringing back things that we used to do that we kind of stopped doing without thinking about it. So yeah, going into the match, I definitely had a more positive outlook in the sense of it felt like our team was a little bit back, judging by the week of scrims. Everything was working out. And we did make a lot of progress, even losing this game 0-2. I've always said that I'm focused on the process and not the results. So it definitely sucks that the result didn't come with it this time. But I think we should have closed out bind. I think we choked a lot of rounds on bind. I think Haven's like a more detail oriented issue that we have to talk about. So we're going to put more time into improving our Haven. There's a lot of stuff for us to kind of go over. We came back and it felt like because of like a rework and 2 maps coming into our pool, we've basically been working on like 3 new maps. So we didn't have a lot of time. I think we had a week before it started, stage 2 started. So yeah, I think we made a lot of improvement, and I think that we've done a good job in the last week of scrims. Although it didn't show against Lev, I think since the Fury game, we've put in a lot of work, and it should be better moving forward. I mean, like I said, we were always going to keep trusting the process. So regardless of our 0-2 loss, we should be back for MIBR.
There's so many things I could touch upon within this team, and from the answer that you gave me, just now, first off, focusing on that map one, bind. Normally a strong map for you guys, but unfortunately, it didn't go your way against Leviathan. You sort of already touched upon it, just having to not have a good showing today relative to past performances. I mean, just sort of focusing on that. What do you think was the biggest obstacle that the team found when it comes to playing against Leviathan and just having to try to put up a similar showing? But
Um, I could take it map by map. I think for Haven, it was more, us needing to get it into our map pool. I definitely think, we haven't put enough time in and we haven't had enough time to really solidify our Haven as much as, we should. It's nobody's fault but ours. We can always do a better job with our time in practice and we can always work a little harder. But bind, we've also been trying to evolve our bind. If anybody is like a hardcore analyst and you watched a lot of our bind, you can tell that the way that we're playing against Lev is not the same way that we were playing, back in stage one. Teams have clearly copied our comp. I mean, you can see Lev copied it. You can see all these teams that are playing bind have copied our comp, so they know everything that we're doing. So, having it as the super map where we 13-3, 13-6 every single team when we played them is not really the same anymore. When, we're playing Heretics, we're playing Lev, they're running our exact comp, they know how all of our execs work, they know the timings, they know the weaknesses. So we're definitely trying to evolve it. The bind game was like, at least on attack, the bind game was pretty much like nowhere similar to how we used to play in stage one. So you can see that we're putting in work, and you can see that we're trying to kind of come back into things. Considering coming from Shanghai is so late, we stayed pretty much until the very last day. We were there for the grand finals match, I believe, or we were there like right before the grand finals. So coming in with not a lot of time. Me as a player, I had some stuff that I had to do back in Toronto. I literally flew home for like 18 hours and then I had to fly back to LA to make the practice days. So yeah, a little bit of a time crunch, but we're trying to work on these maps. We're trying to evolve our bind. We're trying to evolve Haven. We're going to keep going through all of the things that we can do to hopefully bring our map pool back to what it was. I think during stage one, we had a really good map pool. Teams could play us on, any map. We could play Icebox, Ascent, Breeze, Split, bind, and we'd probably come out on top with a win. It felt like the only map that was weak for us was Sunset at the time. So yeah, I don't think we have a similar map pool now that we did in stage one, considering the evolution we have to make on bind. All the work that we have to put in on Haven coming in as a new map, and like a few other things that I can't really talk about, but. Yeah, I mean that's like the best way I could analyze like the bind loss, I guess, for Lev. We're kind of working with new things. We're trying to find out how to play differently than we used to. So we're not fully in our comfort zone when we're playing bind right now. We're still good at the old things that we do. We just kind of want to stray a little bit away from it and not rely on it as hard as we used to, considering every team is copying us.
Difficult is it for you guys to try to adapt, innovate, just kind of change your game plan in such a tight schedule for you guys? Because as you said, you guys stayed until nearly the very end of Masters Shanghai, and then you had to make the jump from China back to LA and just kind of accommodate yourselves, get back to the swing of things, and also practice with what little time you guys have at your disposal. Because I remember end of Shanghai to now, or the start of stage two, was around like not even 3 weeks, not even 2 weeks, I believe. So
Yeah.
getting back into that, how difficult has it been for the team to just kind of not have to display the same kind of performance, the same kind of game plan that you guys have shown in stage one for stage two?
Um. Yeah, for me, it's been definitely a bigger time crunch because with everything going on right in between Shanghai and stage two, I had a lot of like personal stuff going on back at home in Toronto. So, you know, most people wouldn't even have to fly home, between stage two and Shanghai. But for like the stuff that I'm going through, I had to go home, even if it was only for 18 hours. And I do think that the time crunch for me has definitely been a little tiresome, I would say, because going through Shanghai, we're putting in all the effort that we can to win the event. We're trying to do everything that we can to improve, even though we just won stage one. We're trying to innovate our game, change it so that way we can come out on top. And then, you know, leaving Shanghai, we ended up losing, so we're gonna have to put in even more effort and even more work, to fit in all these new maps into the map pool. The new play styles, the different ways that we're gonna have to innovate and evolve. Like our defaults or like our site executes or like changing the pieces of utils. So I would say the combination of like stressing over the improvement of our team and like all the effort that we have to put into the process to kind of move forward and the stuff that's going on in my personal life has been a little bit tiresome. I wouldn't say I'm like burnt out, but it's definitely like not very easy to handle. I wouldn't say coming from stage one and going to Shanghai and leaving on pretty much like the last day and going straight to stage two and having to do everything is easy. I think it's hard, and I think you can clearly see it in the way that like Sentinels one kickoff came back and didn't really have that same form. I wouldn't say we're like a similar case to Sentinels. I don't think all of our players are burnt out. I think we're super hungry and really want to win, but the time crunch definitely makes it hard to answer your question.
Yeah, because I can imagine that it must be very difficult for you guys to have to, do the things that I've been talking about, switching from Masters to now with what little time you guys have at your disposal. I assume that it must be difficult, and as you kind of been explaining it, it kind of has been difficult for you guys. From that point, that said, moving on over to just sort of how the team is going to be approaching these next few games, because of course, not you guys have around 3 matches now left to play to not only make it to playoffs but also just contend and also try to reach champions. And so, how important as do you feel now it has to be for this team to just bounce back, take a W, and just kind of ward off any kind of additional pressure that may be affecting you guys as the season transpires, or and everything else of the like?
Um, I think like at this point we don't really need like a wake up call or anything like that. I think after the Furia game and some little stuff that happened in scrims. I mean I could talk about it because it doesn't really expose anything, but we were so like before in scrims basically we were like very very good whenever we wanted it to be. I remember we heard a team had like a scrim win streak or something like that. Typically no teams play to win scrims, but when we heard about the scrim win streak that another team had, we made it like our plan to beat the scrim win streak. I think we got up to like I don't know what it was, like 40 scrims in a row that we won or something like that. So people were betting money. I remember we would scrim Lev and like Com and Boosty would like bet like $100 that they would win or lose the scrim, and it was a lot of fun. But I think the first wake up call for us was when we're going into scrims, getting ready for stage 2, and we were playing Bind, like our super map, and I think we were scrimming. I can't remember the team we were scrimming. It was a franchise team. But going into the scrim, we're like, all right, let's do performance, which basically means like try your hardest to win the scrim, do everything that you can, play it like it's a match, and we got annihilated. It was like we got like 4 rounds out of 24 rounds or something like that. I think we got like 4-20, maybe like 6-18, something like that. It wasn't good for a team that has a super map and is trying to win. So that was like the first wake up call. Going into Furia, similar fashion, we lose 14-12, 14-16, or like something like that. And even though the maps are close, there should never be a world where we're losing like that to Furia. So that was a big wake up call for us. I don't think we need any more wake up calls at this point. Even the last week of practice has been like very good for us, and we've been improving a lot in the last week. We fleshed out a ton of details. We changed like a lot in our defaults and stuff like that. It's just, it feels like we need reps kind of at this point, because like take Haven for example, we know what we have to throw and we know like what comes at us mainly when we're going into like a C execute or a C split or an A exec or whatever it is. But without the reps, you don't really get all of the value that you need. Like you don't take the single duel that you're supposed to take in the round. You don't have like the utility that's thrown at you with different comps. Maybe if you're playing a Neon Breach, the rep is going to be different than if you're playing like a KO Sova or something like that. So yeah, we've been working hard and we've been trying to improve, trying to evolve our playstyle and trying to fix the issues that you can clearly see in like the Furia game and this Lev game. And personally, I would give us a lot of credit. I think we've done like an amazing job so far as of last week, like, improving and bringing ourselves back into form, I guess you could say. But still, with everything in mind, the Lev result wasn't there. And I think like the most important thing for our team moving forward is that, we can't get discouraged over the result. We've never been a team that cares about it. So we got to keep focusing on the process, and we need to make sure that we, going into this next week of scrims, going into, the MIBR game and everything, regardless of what happens, we need to, give the same effort that we've been giving with everything going on, the time crunch, the stuff that is happening at home, maybe for some players or whatever. We got to give 120%. The year ends soon. We all really want to go to champs. We all really want the bundle. So yeah, let's hope we can keep giving 120% and, end the year off strong, like proper 100 Thieves.
Of course, trying to steal the trophy at the very end. That's the goal, but you got to get there first and foremost. For you guys able to do that later on at the end of stage 2. eeiu, really appreciate you giving me all this insight, all of this depth in your answers. I really do appreciate it. That's it. I'm gonna wrap up the interview right here. Of course, best of luck goes to the team, but most importantly for yourself.
All right, thank you so much, Pedro.